Welcome to the second chapter of the story of the Ynnari and the travels of Yvraine as emissary of the god of the dead, Ynnari. In the first video we went through the formation of the Ynnari, Yvraine's rise in power, and the manifestation of Ynnari through its avatar, the Incarn. After the events of the Gathering Storm, more and more Eldar joined the Ynnari, and all around the galaxy they take part in conflicts to fight chaos. They joined the fight on Iyanden, once again besieged by chaos, where they fight alongside Drukhari, Corsairs, Harlequins, and war hosts from every major craft world. And on Ulthwé as well. The craft world had sent out all of his war hosts to wage war in the Imperium Nihilus and help potential allies in the fight against chaos. Chaos forces took advantage of that and tried to invade the craft world, but led by Eldrad Ulthran, the Ynnari and the Harlequins banished the demons. The Ynnari influence also rises in the dark city of Komorrag, but their followers are brutally repressed by Vecht. In spite of this, it is said that entire subrealms of the dark city are now under Ynnari control. They break off ties with Komorrag, and some even are treated as separate enclaves in the Webway. Still in 2017, the Black Library releases 3 audiobooks collected under the name The Hand of Darkness. This audiobook starts with Guilliman, now an ally of the Ynnari, asking Yvraine and Eldrad to help him recover the ancient artifact, the Hand of Darkness, a weapon of incredible power gifted by Abaddon to Mortarion and now guarded on the Plague Planet. To find a way to travel there, they need to reach the Black Library to chart a course to this fell planet. Yvraine conjures a portal to the long-dead city of Einerash, also known as the Endless Stair, a ancient Eldar metropolis before the fall, where there is a portal entrance to the Black Library. Here, along with Harlequins, they fight again Ahriman, commanding a force of demons of Tzeentch. The battle is won, and Yvraine enters the Black Library, where she meets with the White Seers, who accept to open a passage that would lead to the Garden of Nurgle. She asks the Vizarch to form a force to accompany her into the Garden of Nurgle, while she stations the Autarch Meliniel in the Black Library to defend it against the attacks of the Thousand Sons. Yvraine's group enter the passage, and while they walk through the strange landscape, they start to turn on one another, and even the Vizarch quarrel with Yvraine to the point where swords are drawn. But Yvraine ultimately realizes they have been deceived by the great enemy and dispels the influence of Slaanesh. With renewed vigor, the Ynnari turn their blades against the minions of Slaanesh. During the hostilities, Yvraine picks up an artifact she thought was the Hand of Darkness and retreats into the Black Library. But it is a rose of Isha, a very rare flower that only grows where the goddess Isha walks. The final chapter of the book opens up with war raging at the gates of the Black Library, as the forces of Ahriman try to break in. Yvraine joins Meliniel in the fight, and as the dead start piling up, she summons the Incarn. She uses the Rose of Isha to transform the portal from which the demons are pouring into a gateway to the Garden of Nurgle. As soon as they enter, flies and plague demons attack the Ynnari. They reach a citadel in which they recover the End of Darkness after killing the massive demon that was guarding it. Chased by countless demons, they flee towards the portal. A few months later is published Ghost Warrior, which picks up right where we left Yvraine. Yvraine and her group that journeyed through the Garden of Nurgle managed to reach the Black Library and Autarch Meliniel. Together, they fight the demons and close the portal. On Iyanden, the Council of Farseers received a message from a long-lost craftworld. Missing for millennia, the craftworld Zaisus Thra emerges and tries to make contact. Iana Arianal is filled with hope as a branch of her family was on this craftworld. The council commands her to make contact with the craftworld, and Eldrad Ulthran, who had seen in his vision Zarathustra's return, convinces Yvraine to reach Iana. Indeed, on the Craftworld was rumored to be the Gate of Malice, a gateway that would lead to the Well of the Dead, the tomb of Eldanesh, the first Eldar who was killed by Cain, where maybe the fifth Kronsword would be located. Leading an army of Wraith, they embark on the mission to meet with Zaisutra. A delegation of Ynnari with Iana and Yvraine and her warriors, led by Meliniel, reach Zaisutra. But when they start discussion, it is clear something is wrong. Iana and Yvraine are separated from their group, which ends up being attacked. They both realize that the Craftworld had been infected by the Gene Stealers. Iana manages to kill off the Patriarch, severing the psychic link with the other infected Eldar of the Craftworld. Now as a target, the Ynnari purge the Craftworld of all infected lives. The Craftworld now emptied of the infestation, they reach the Gate of Malice and go through the portal, reaching a dry world bathed by the red light of the Red Moon of Legends, the orb stained by the blood of Eldanesh. After some time, the tomb emerges from the sands, and with it, the first shard of Cain, the War Shard, the most terrible incarnation of Cain. The vision enrages the Ynnari, and they start fighting against themselves. But Meliniel does not, and challenges the incarnation of Cain, like Eldanesh once did. With the help of Iana, she strikes down the incarnation of Cain. Now released from his influence, the Ynnari enter the tomb, hoping to find the Kronsword. But it is the heart of Eldanesh that Meliniel finds, which contains the essence of the War Shard of Cain inside. Meliniel raises the ruby before her, and it penetrates into her body and replaces her own heart. She now becomes one with Cain and renews her vow of loyalty to Yvraine. In 2017 and 2018, Black Library releases 2 more books, Fireheart and Wild Rider. These books, far less interesting than the previous one according to me, tell the story how the Ynnari came together with Craftworld Saimhan, and how they wage war against the Necrons on the world of Agarimetea. Once again, Yvraine thinks she can recover the 5th Kronsword on this world, but her hopes are finally dashed. While the books don't provide much of a progress in the Ynnari storylines, the end of Wild Rider ends with an interesting introspection of Yvraine. She wonders if her destiny and mission is less to gather the Kronsword, of which the 5th one constantly eludes her, but rather to reunite the Eldar Pantheon. During their travels, the Ynnari did gather important characters that greatly influenced the destiny of the Eldar race and the galaxy. Yvraine thinks about all the heroes at her side, and how she accomplished what she did. In her meditation, she realizes that Ennead is not simply the spirits of the Eldar given life. Ennead was Liliath, granter of visions, Isha, birth giver of the Eldar, and mon-keighs, holder of fate, all together. She continues and sees that, herself, the one that was known not so long ago as the daughter of Shades, could be Ennead's aspect of the moon, the mortal incarnation of Liliath. Yvraine then thinks about Eldrad. For sure he was the one behind everything since the beginning, and was also known as the Eye of Fates Unseen. Could he be the incarnation of mon-keighs, the goddess of fate? And Meliniel, the Otak always prone to battle and lead the armies, now host of the Shard of War, was she not Cain's greatest avatar? She then thinks about her companions, ones not mentioned during the summaries I did, and she also associates Iana with Assyrian. After all, is she not from Ienden, the Craftworld that bears the rune of the patron god? One of the last paragraphs of the book is heavy with revelations. Allow me to read it to you. It made glorious and yet terrifying sense. Do the gods not also have souls? When the great enemy attempted to devour its Eldar creators, not all were consumed. Kegorak escaped. Cain was shattered into the avatars of the bloody-handed. Other fragments might have survived. A piece, or pieces of every god scattered throughout the Eldar, born again and again into mortal form, just as the souls of the Eldar themselves. She almost fainted with the weight of understanding. Was it all delusion? Not so long ago she had been resolved to her own destruction for the cause, and now she wove a fantasy about the rebirth of the gods. Belief and disbelief warred. Her mind racked back and forth between the two until all became blurred, her vision misting in physical sympathy. She staggered to her feet, and at the same moment felt through the whisper a sense of detachment, as the dawn sail launched from the Ennead's dream, along with the rest of its birth flotilla. And that is it really. Nothing really new happens for the Ynnari since this revelation of Yvraine, that the mission that she's been given to by Ennead might be something more than she envisioned at first. That it is something more than retrieving Kronsword to awaken him, but rather to reunite and make the Eldar pantheon live throughout the new generations of Eldar and recover what could be the mortal incarnations of the gods of old. And so we're only left with, I'd say, theories and perspective, but nothing really tangent to build around for the Ynnari. But to be honest, this is also one of the many aspects that I like about the Ynnari story. We travel with Yvraine throughout the galaxy and meet characters with her that we've known for a long time because they've been all around for quite some time during the Eldar codexes and stories that we all know. But we do find them under a new perspective, and through the eyes of Yvraine, we see something different in them. Just as the end of the Wild Rider, just as the end of the book The Wild Rider suggests that there might be something more, there might be mortal incarnations of God and here to lead the Eldar people in the new millennia. This is quite fascinating and truly an aspect that I really like. But considering the lore that we had for 9th edition, it is clear that the focus is now not on Eldar and not on Ynnari. We had our time in the sun during the Gathering Storm campaign, where this new faction emerged and was made playable by Games Workshop. Right now it's more about Abaddon, about the war against the Imperium, and so far the Eldar has been pushed on the wayside, and we cannot really expect anything new coming from GW in the coming month or maybe years. I had hopes in the 9th edition codex that something new would happen for the Ynnari, but to be quite frank with you, the rules for playing Ynnari are good. They make perfect sense, and they are well written, and truly it's been a joy to play with them. But in terms of lore, it's very lacking. There is no mention about what happened in the book of the Black Library. The short presentation of the Ynnari stops right when Ennead resurrects Robert Gilliman, and it stops right there. And so you don't have any more information about where they are going and what are the implications of all these stories that I just explained and presented to you. Also, there are numerous stories about the special characters that compose the Ynnari forces right now. Obviously, as you know, there's Eldrad Ulthran, Eldrad is a very important character in the Ynnari because he is the one behind everything. He is the one that started this whole quest about awakening Ynnari. And as you witnessed, he is accompanying Yvraine pretty much everywhere she goes in the galaxy to make sure she accomplishes her mission and make sure that he can be of any help if she is in trouble. And the fact that we cannot play him in the Ynnari army is a bit disappointing, because if the vision of GW is to make the Ynnari the Eldar way of reuniting themselves and reuniting them with the gods of all, it is a bit frustrating that we cannot play with the people that compose the Ynnari in the story that we read. The same goes for Jainzar. Jainzar is a very important character in the stories. There's also an episode where she fights against Drazar, who is sent by Vect to kill off Yvraine, and with the help of Ynnari, she manages to protect Yvraine from the blades of Drazar, and also understands that Yvraine is protected by a real god for the Eldar, and that it cannot be ignored. And so she joins the Ynnari and becomes one of the defenders of Yvraine. And the fact that she cannot play with them as well is kind of frustrating, because we had a new model, and the story in the Blood of the Phoenix box tells about how Jainzar is aided by Ynnari, and yet it is not available in the game for the Ynnari. Obviously, there's the problem with the Corsairs, but this is something that I can live without. But yeah, it is quite disappointing that we've had during the Gathering Storm and the few years after a great story about the Ynnari, and that it hasn't been pursued by the authors. And we are in 2023 now, and nothing really happened for the Ynnari. And I have hopes for them. I have hope for the continuation of their storyline, and learn new things about Yvraine, the Vizark, and Ynnari with this new perspective on things. But when I see that GW once again wants to push Abaddon, wants to push the Space Marines, and I totally understand why, it's just a bit frustrating for us Xenos players that want to know more about the models and the army that we play. So thank you very much for listening to these episodes of Ynnari. I hope that you like them. I hope that I didn't bore you with too much details, and that you enjoyed the stories that I summarized for you, and that you also liked the perspective of the Ynnari and what they're fighting for, and what could be the perspectives for them in the coming future. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, and always comment on the video. It is great that you liked my previous one, that you liked my presentation of the army, and the introduction about why Eldrad is interested in Ynnari in my previous video. And truly, it's been all around great review, great feedback, and I like that it. I'd like to continue doing it and doing more videos about Ynnari, Eldar, and things that I like in Warhammer 40k. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one. Bye.